The V-twin has long been seen as the ultimate motorcycle engine. But what if it's not the best choice for today's riders? Sure, it sounds great and has a rich history, but the reality is, it might be costing you more than it's worth. Stick around till the end to see why this ride could be the smarter, more efficient choice. The V-twin myth. For decades, the V-twin was not just an engine, it was an identity. The unmistakable thump of its cylinders, the shine of its chrome, and the cultural weight it carried made it a symbol of American freedom. Riders bought into the dream as much as the machine. To own a big V-twin was to stake a claim in a story of rebellion, brotherhood, and open highways. Motorcycles became more than transport. They were rolling myths, each one echoing the roar of previous generations. But myths do not pay service bills. Riders who once worshipped the V-twin are now facing the realities of 21st century ownership. Heavy frames translate into awkward, low-speed handling. Overheating in stop-and-go traffic leaves commuters sweating on summer afternoons. Insurance premiums balloon as replacement parts climb in cost, and resale values have begun to collapse under the weight of younger buyers simply looking elsewhere. The glory of the V-twin has become, for many, a financial trap. The contrast between dream and reality is stark. The bike that once meant liberation now means compromise. Riders who wanted an extension of their soul find themselves stuck with a burden on two wheels. This is why the spotlight is now shifting to the parallel twin, a layout that retains character while cutting the excess fat. It is lighter, more efficient, and more approachable for a new wave of riders who demand both thrill and practicality. But nostalgia is not enough to pay the bills. Manufacturers learned that the hard way. Survival shift. When the first brands started experimenting with parallel twins, many traditionalists scoffed. Why walk away from the proven heart of the V-twin? The answer was simple: survival. Emissions regulations tightened, and the bulky air-cooled twins struggled to pass without expensive engineering overhauls. Manufacturers faced rising costs, more complex exhaust systems, and endless compromises to keep the old format alive. Meanwhile, younger buyers hesitated to pay premium prices for bikes that felt technologically dated. Parallel twins offered a way out. With a single cylinder head and fewer moving parts, they were cheaper to build. They fit easily into a variety of frames, allowing one engine to power a naked street bike, an adventure machine, and even a touring model. This modular approach saved development money, slashed assembly time, and ensured compliance with strict environmental laws. For companies under financial pressure, the switch was not daring innovation. It was a calculated necessity. The brilliance of the parallel twin is not that it reinvents the wheel, but that it reinvents the factory. The same block can be tuned for torque in one bike and top-end speed in another. It allows brands to refresh lineups quickly, release models across price brackets, and compete head-to-head with European and Japanese rivals without drowning in costs. Riders reap the benefits too, because what rolls out of the showroom is lighter, cheaper, and more reliable than the lumbering relics of yesterday. And the proof of concept? It came from one engine that reshaped a generation of bikes. If this breakdown is hitting home, hit the subscribe button and tell me your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback keeps these deep dives coming, and trust me, you'll want the next one. The engine that proved it. If there was a single parallel twin that broke the V-twin spell, it was Yamaha's CP2. This engine, first appearing in mid-sized bikes, proved that you did not need a heavyweight cruiser to feel raw excitement. Producing steady torque throughout the rev range, the CP2 gave riders punch off the line and confidence when overtaking. It was not about bragging rights on a spec sheet. It was about how alive the bike felt under you. Owners quickly realized what the numbers meant in real life. In city traffic, the lighter chassis combined with the tractable engine made weaving effortless. Out in the canyons, the smooth delivery and controlled vibrations inspired confidence, letting riders focus on the curves rather than wrestling against the machine. Even on long weekend trips, the combination of strong fuel economy and manageable weight turned what once felt like a chore into an adventure. Reliability sealed the deal. Thousands of riders piled on mileage without the headaches that often accompany high-strung engines. The CP2 demonstrated that the parallel twin was not a compromise, but a new benchmark. Other manufacturers took note and raced to build their own two-cylinder platforms. Suddenly, the middleweight category was not a graveyard of starter bikes, but a thriving space full of machines that balanced fun, economy, and durability. While some brands pushed forward with innovation, Harley clung stubbornly to the heft of its heritage. But while some brands proved the new path forward, Harley doubled down on weight. Gear up for your next ride with the best motorcycle accessories. Safety, style, and comfort all in one. Link is in the description. When specs betray, the Street Glide ST was meant to be Harley's answer to modern touring demands. On paper, its Milwaukee 8 117 engine delivered jaw-dropping torque, and its bold silhouette promised long-haul comfort with a dose of muscle. Yet once riders signed on the dotted line, they discovered the downside: sheer mass. At more than 800 pounds wet, the bike was intimidating to maneuver in city streets or garage driveways. The weight was only the beginning. Owners found themselves dealing with high tire and brake replacement costs, thirsty fuel consumption, and insurance premiums that punished the bike's price tag. Add to that the endless electronic add-ons, infotainment screens, linked braking systems, semi-active suspension, that increased complexity without always improving reliability. The result was a motorcycle that carried prestige in theory, but drained wallets in practice. Resale values tell the story best. Listings for nearly new units fall by thousands of dollars within the first year, a collapse that leaves loyal customers feeling betrayed. For riders who want the joy of the open road without the baggage of debt and depreciation, the lesson is clear. Spec sheets can seduce, but mass and complexity turn ownership into a burden. The appeal of the parallel twin lies not just in efficiency, but in its honesty. What you buy is what you can actually use and enjoy. The industry is waking up to this truth, and engineers are already sketching the next evolution of two-cylinder design. And that is why engineers started asking, could an engine's heartbeat be redesigned? It's all timing. Every rider knows the sound of a V-twin, the offbeat growl, the loping idle, the way it shakes the bars at a red light. For decades, that character defined the riding experience. But engineers discovered a secret hidden in plain sight. By arranging the crankshaft in a parallel twin at 270 degrees, they could replicate the same syncopated rhythm while unlocking smoother performance. Instead of two pistons rising and falling in lockstep, the staggered timing creates uneven firing intervals that mimic the heartbeat of a V-twin. The rider feels that pulse in the seat and bars, a sensation that satisfies the emotional craving for soul without the penalty of excessive mass. The difference is not just feel, it is function. The 270-degree layout spreads torque more evenly, making throttle response predictable and traction easier to manage. On winding back roads, this translates into confidence. On city commutes, it means fewer lurches and stalls. The best part is that the engine packaging is far narrower, allowing frames to be slim and bikes to be lighter. Riders who once dismissed parallel twins as boring sewing machines now discover that timing has turned them into performers. Of course, nothing is perfect. The uneven firing order introduces vibration that needs balancing. Manufacturers often employ counterbalancers or rubber mounting systems to smooth the ride, adding a bit of weight and complexity back in. Still, the trade-off is modest compared to the compromise of hauling nearly 1,000 pounds of V-twin touring steel. The result is an engine that feels alive but behaves responsibly. And once that secret was cracked, manufacturers deployed it everywhere. Every showroom, every segment. Walk into a dealership today and the evidence is everywhere. Naked street bikes, middleweight adventure machines, compact sport tourers, parallel twins dominate the floor. What began as an experiment has turned into the new industry standard. The two-cylinder format's flexibility is the key. One engine platform can be tuned for torque in a scrambler, high revs in a sport bike, or balanced cruising in a touring machine. That means manufacturers can sell more models without reinventing the wheel each time. Even legacy brands have joined the migration. Suzuki, long known for its venerable SV series of V-twins, quietly prepared a replacement based on a parallel twin design. The decision was not made to chase novelty, but to reduce costs and simplify compliance with modern emissions standards. Meanwhile, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Aprilia have rolled out parallel twin platforms across nearly every category. Riders who once thought twins were entry-level engines now see them in machines priced in specs to rival premium V-twin cruisers. For the customer, this has created choice at every budget. Whether you are shopping for a sub-600 cubic centimeter commuter or a liter-class adventure rig, the odds are high that a parallel twin sits at the heart of it. Manufacturers win because they can build and sell more efficiently. Riders win because they get modern features, lighter bikes, and approachable pricing. The days when the V-twin monopolized character are fading, replaced by a market where twins are the default answer for almost every riding style. But owning one is not just about how it rides, it is about what it costs. The real cost. The difference between a V-twin and a parallel twin does not stop at the dealership door. It shows up in your wallet every single month. Fuel economy is the most obvious. A lightweight parallel twin often sips less petrol while delivering performance that rivals heavier bikes. Commuters notice fewer fill-ups, and long-distance tourers appreciate extended range without strapping auxiliary tanks to the frame. Tires and brakes tell the same story. A machine weighing 500 pounds wears components at a slower rate than one tipping the scales at 800 or 900. That means fewer costly replacements and more miles between service visits. Insurance underwriters also factor in replacement costs, which makes parallel twin machines cheaper to cover. When your premiums are lower, your annual cost of ownership shrinks further. Maintenance is the quiet killer with big V-twins. 2-cylinder heads, more valves, and bulky casings drive up service time and parts expense. By contrast, a parallel twin keeps things simple. One head, compact packaging, easier access for mechanics. That translates directly into smaller bills whether you are visiting a dealer or wrenching in your own garage. None of this reduces the fun. Riders still get lively throttle response, reliable power, and the kind of spirited weekend rides that remind them why they fell in love with motorcycling in the first place. And in the worst conditions, those savings also translate to safety. Grip that saves. A motorcycle is only as good as the traction beneath its tires. The 270-degree crank gives the parallel twin a unique advantage here too. Its irregular firing intervals deliver pulses of torque that improve grip on wet tarmac, loose gravel, or dusty city streets. Riders may not consciously think about it, but the engine's rhythm helps tires hook up more consistently. The sensation is subtle yet critical when the road surface turns unpredictable. Adventure riders notice it first. On trails where traction is scarce, the parallel twin's delivery feels controllable rather than abrupt. In urban downpours, commuters find the bike less twitchy when rolling on the throttle. Even returning riders, nervous after years away from the sport, gain confidence because the engine communicates through its pulses rather than surprising them with sudden spikes. That kind of feedback builds trust, and trust keeps people riding longer. Safety may not be glamorous, but it is priceless. A lighter, well-balanced motorcycle with a responsive twin gives riders more room to make mistakes and recover. The old image of muscling a giant V-twin around in the rain belongs to a different era. Today's machines prioritize control, and the parallel twin is the heart that makes it possible. It may not draw crowds at a roadside diner, but it can quietly save lives when traction runs thin. So if twins make this much sense, what should you actually buy today? Balance over bulk. For too long, riders have been conditioned to think that bigger always means better. Displacement numbers became status symbols, and heavyweight cruisers dominated parking lots as if cubic centimeters equaled respect. But the truth is, everyday fun does not come from sheer size. It comes from balance. And that is where middleweight naked and sport bikes powered by parallel twins shine. These machines are deliberately built light. A typical middleweight twin weighs hundreds of pounds less than a bloated touring rig, yet the torque's delivery is tuned for real-world riding. On city streets, you get enough punch to dart through traffic without wrestling a cumbersome frame. On winding roads, the agility makes every corner an invitation rather than a chore. Riders discover that they can push harder with less effort, turning commutes into games and weekend rides into therapy. Durability is another selling point. Parallel twins are famously tough, with straightforward maintenance that encourages owners to keep their bikes longer. Parts last longer when the bike itself is not straining under excess mass. Customization only adds to the appeal. With an endless aftermarket of bars, seats, and exhausts, these bikes can be transformed from commuter to canyon carver to touring companion. Instead of paying for displacement you will never use, you invest in balance you will feel every single day. And when the road turns to gravel, the choice is even clearer. Adventure made easy. Adventure bikes promise freedom beyond the pavement, but many riders learned the hard way that freedom does not feel liberating when your machine weighs nearly as much as you do. Dropping an 800-pound giant in the dirt is more punishment than adventure. That is why lightweight and middleweight parallel twin adventure bikes have taken over. They offer the confidence to explore without the penalty of constant strain. The first advantage is simple physics. A lighter bike is easier to pick up when it inevitably tips over. That fact alone encourages riders to push boundaries, knowing mistakes will not ruin the trip. Add the steady torque delivery of a two-cylinder twin, and off-road climbs or loose gravel tracks become manageable rather than terrifying. Long-distance touring is equally rewarding because better fuel efficiency extends range, and reduced weight means less stress on tires and suspension during multi-day rides. Cost also matters. Outfitting a massive V-twin adventure machine with luggage, crash protection, and electronics can run into thousands. Parallel twin alternatives keep accessory costs reasonable and installation simple. Riders get everything they need: panniers, GPS mounts, auxiliary lighting, without taking out a second mortgage. The result is more people actually using their bikes for adventure rather than posing on them. Exploration should be about landscapes, not gym workouts, and the parallel twin finally made that promise real. Touring next, without dragging half a ton of chrome. Touring without pain. Long-distance touring has long been associated with massive V-twin cruisers loaded with chrome, electronics, and bulk. But the future belongs to sport tourers built on parallel twin platforms. These bikes deliver the same promise, covering hundreds of miles comfortably without requiring you to visit a chiropractor afterward. Efficiency and comfort are no longer opposites. They now ride hand in hand. Modern sport tourers powered by twins achieve impressive range thanks to their frugal engines. Riders can cross 2 states in a day on a single tank, while still enjoying a lively engine that responds eagerly when the throttle is twisted. Ergonomics are refined to strike the balance between sporty and relaxed. Adjustable windscreens, supportive saddles, and heated grips are common even at modest price points, proving you do not need a premium badge to feel premium comfort. Technology further closes the gap with heavyweight tourers. Traction control, cornering ABS, and Bluetooth connectivity are now standard, giving riders peace of mind and entertainment without drowning them in unnecessary gadgetry. Maintenance is simpler, insurance is cheaper, and resale values remain stronger because the bikes appeal to a broader market. Instead of hauling nearly 1,000 pounds of chrome across the continent, riders are discovering they can tour smarter, lighter, and happier with a parallel twin. But what if your heart still craves the V-twin rumble? The sound you want. For many riders, the hesitation to leave the V-twin comes down to one thing: sound. The syncopated rumble of staggered cylinders is part of the culture, the soundtrack of an entire lifestyle. Walking away from that noise feels like abandoning tradition. But here is the revelation. modern 270-degree parallel twins can deliver that same emotional punch without the drawbacks. The firing order creates an uneven rhythm that fools the ear into hearing a V-twin. Add a well-tuned exhaust, and the growl is deep, satisfying, and instantly recognizable. Riders still get the visceral connection, the sense of riding something alive, but without the weight penalty, the excessive heat, or the maintenance nightmare. It is like hearing your favorite song performed live with better acoustics, familiar but elevated. For purists, this is the perfect compromise. You can keep the soundtrack, keep the pulse, and keep the soul, but you do not inherit the baggage. 270 twins are lighter, more reliable, and cheaper to run. They allow new riders to enjoy the romance of motorcycling without being trapped by nostalgia, while veterans rediscover the joy that first drew them to bikes in the first place. This is not losing tradition, it is carrying it forward with smarter engineering. And this shift does not just affect riders, it is rewriting the industry itself. Factory reset. Motorcycle history is full of turning points, and the shift from V-twins to parallel twins is one of the most consequential. This is not only a story about engineering, but also about manufacturing efficiency. Once designers realized a single parallel twin platform could be adapted into multiple categories, original equipment manufacturers quickly changed their strategies. Platform sharing became the norm. A single block could serve as the heart of a naked bike, an adventure rig, or even a mid-range touring machine with only small adjustments in tuning. The modular parallel twin cut costs and sped timelines. Instead of years on a new V-twin, brands launched families of bikes quickly. Fewer unique parts lowered prices for makers and riders. Flexibility grew. If one model failed, the engine could be retuned or repackaged into another frame with ease. The shift also altered global supply chains. Factories could focus on a narrower set of components, improving quality control and cutting waste. Smaller markets that once struggled to support niche V-twin lines suddenly gained access to affordable, reliable twins. What looked like a technical adjustment was in fact a wholesale change to the map of the motorcycle industry. But this was not just engineering, it was forced by regulation. Math, not myth. When emissions laws grew tighter, many assumed regulators were directly targeting V-twins. The truth is more complex. Air-cooled engines with large displacements struggled to pass modern standards without heavy re-engineering. Catalytic converters grew bulky, exhaust routing became awkward, and the cost of keeping the format alive soared. It was not a question of culture, it was simple arithmetic. The math of emissions, fuel economy, and consumer pricing left V-twins exposed. Parallel twins offered compliance with less pain. A compact design meant exhaust gases could be treated more efficiently. Water cooling systems allowed precise temperature control, ensuring clean combustion across different conditions. The 270-degree crank kept the character that riders wanted while making certification far easier. Governments never banned the V-twin outright, but the cost of adaptation made it increasingly impractical for mass-market models. Economic pressures sealed the deal. As inflation squeezed consumers, manufacturers could not afford to release machines that were more expensive to build and harder to certify. Investors demanded profitability, and the parallel twin answered that call. It was not ideology but survival economics that forced the shift. For many riders, this meant the bikes arriving in showrooms no longer carried the thunder of old, but instead delivered a more balanced and affordable package. And the fallout landed hardest in the resale market. Resale reality. One of the most visible consequences of this transition shows up in the used market. Heavy V-twin machines that once commanded loyalty are now depreciating at record speed. Buyers, especially younger ones, are reluctant to shoulder the running costs of 900-pound cruisers when lighter and cheaper alternatives offer similar thrills. Listings for once premium touring bikes linger unsold for months, even when prices are slashed. Dealers, stuck with aging inventory, quietly push incentives just to clear floor space. Parallel twins hold value with resilience, attracting commuters and hobbyists alike. Lower costs and strong reliability drive repeat buyers. Markets once packed with heavy cruisers now favor agile twins that sell fast. Dealerships are shifting too, diversifying away from V-twins toward middleweight, adventure, and sport tourer stock to survive. This cultural shift is difficult for purists to swallow, but the math is inescapable. Emotional attachment cannot offset high repair bills, expensive parts, or punishing depreciation curves. And that's where we'll leave it today. But your ride doesn't end here. If you've learned something new, imagine what's coming next. Hit subscribe right now, because the next drop isn't just another story. It's the warning shot you can't afford to miss. Share this with a rider who needs it, leave your take in the comments, and stay tuned. The road ahead is changing fast. Don't get left behind.